Admitting that not even 80% of the country's population has access to the internet, GTT forged ahead with its new e-billing service, a move which did not go well with customers, including political commentator Raymond Gaskin, who filed a complaint with the Public Utilities Commission, PUC. At a public hearing today, PUC Commissioner Dr. Leland Lucas sought to clarify the provisions GTT had in place for consumers who cannot or would not optimize the online services.
What systems are in place to address situations such as we have before us, where individuals either by choice or as a consequence of their maturity do not have the details that are necessary for them to feel comfortable paying GT&T a bill.
In response, GTT said channels are available and consumers can visit any retail store to obtain a copy of their bill, but they will have to pay a fee. Director of Legal and Regulatory Affairs Mark Reynolds expounded on the fact that the online service is much welcomed by many of the GTT's customers. However, acknowledged that no notification was done for consumers countrywide.
Yes, there was no notification issued to customers, and GTT takes that, and we apologize to Mr. Gaskin for that and to the consumers.
According to PUC Commissioner Rajendra Bisesar, although the GTT claims that 70% of the populace have access to the internet, it should not be overlooked that this could mean limited access and limited knowledge in the online services being offered.
So people use internet for WhatsApp or to just make calls, and some of them, their understanding of internet is limited to that. So when we talk of 70% having internet connection, it doesn't mean that 70% have internet savvy. In other words, maybe 20% of those might just use it for WhatsApp. I have no idea how to browse, etc. The fact is, when you use my phone to download information, I utilize data, which I have to pay for. So to put me to download those lists of telephone calls and so on would utilize my data. So you're putting an additional expense to me.
Additionally, former CEO of GTT, Dr. Yog Mahadio, pointed out that despite the statements made by GTT that the services online are free, they still come at a cost to consumers.
There is nothing free. A person's internet access is not free. So the fact that you can have access to a ability to place a call comes at a cost for the handset and a cost for the service. The fact that you can download a bill or see a movie comes at an access cost.
He also queried as to the implementation process of the e-billing service in relation to persons who have difficulties in their everyday lives in various forms.
The company is saying that 30% of consumers in Guyana do not have internet access. And of that 30%, 90% might be people who are unable to travel, to go to an office, to have access to a bill or to do something about it. Has there been a consideration for the disabled, for the elderly, or for the people who are unable to move beyond a particular scope, to have access to their detail?
Adding his views to the matter, Patrick Dial of the Guyana Consumers Association pointed out that the GTT needs to ensure that consumers know how their monies are being spent for services that the company would have provided.
Why don't you, when you make a demand for money, why don't you tell the customer, as before, what you're asking him to pay for? You pay the details, that is. You have cell phone calls and you have overseas calls. And what you do, when you do it at the same time, you ask him, you tell him what he's paying for. You don't tell him a rigmarole of go to the internet, which he doesn't even know about or can't go to.
Vice President for Customer Experience at GTT, Orson Ferguson, also apologized for the mistake in not giving an appropriate notification period to allow for a smoother transition. But Mr. Gaskin did not accept the explanations or apologies.
I went to the GT&T because the matter came up about the lines in Big Dam. It took me 45 minutes to pay my bill, and I complained to the supervisor, and she suggested I go to something called MMG. I could sign up and pay, get some new service. And she said, you don't have to come here. You can get some new service and pay. You don't have to come here. The GT&T is forcing me to take services that I don't want and I don't need. That is the whole purpose of all of this thing, to force me to do what I don't want to do. And that's why they keep me in the line for 45 minutes as a senior citizen. I want my original bill, the way I used to get it. Unless the PUC approves these changes, I'm saying to you, you cannot do it. The license doesn't allow you to do things unilaterally and arbitrarily. That's why you have the PUC, that's why you have the PUC Act, that's why you have a license. You cannot do things on your own just like that and come and apologize to me. I reject all these apologies. Let me tell you straight, all of them. So don't worry with apologies on me.
Reporting for the Evening News, I am Kristen Macklingam.